the same direction. Because what is really marked about this particular incident, given recent history here, is the coordination, the clear level of planning and organisation, the use of a firearm. This has been rare here in recent weeks and months. So the authorities here will be looking to see how it happened, where the weapon came from, and then you will see a marked step up in security as a result, both in response to any perceived threat, but also as a statement, no doubt, from the Israeli authorities as well. Hello.
All right, Phil Black, we'll get back to you in a moment. Michael Oren is the former Israeli ambassador to the United States. He is also ambassador in residence at the Atlantic Council. He's a member of the Knesset as well. Michael Oren, we've spoken a lot over the years in your role as Israeli ambassador to the United States in Washington, but you now live in Tel Aviv. And I understand you're not far from where this attack unfolded. Is that correct?
That's correct, I'm within walking distance of the attack site.
And did you hear sirens? Did you see anything?
Yeah, there's sirens. They've closed off the entire area. It is a new, very popular area of Tel Aviv. It was formerly a settlement of a German missionary group from the 1860s and 1870s, the Templars, and all the buildings have been renovated and turned into rather upscale restaurants and shopping areas, and very popular among both the residents of Tel Aviv and tourists. So the terrorists obviously picked out this site very purposefully for maximum effect.
And the reporter with the Times of Israel was saying essentially that this area had even been singled out as potentially not being as secure as it could be, that it could have been sort of considered a soft target. Now, sadly, we're seeing that it appears as though attackers chose it specifically for that reason. Is that something you agree with?
No, I think the difference. What's strange enough about it is that this area is right across the street from the equivalent of Israel's Pentagon. So there is, by definition, a strong military presence in that area. Formerly, it was actually part of the Pentagon. The Pentagon actually left that area and gave it back to the city of Tel Aviv to develop as a tourist site. And the entrance to the restaurants has the usual security guard outside. I don't think there was any less or a lesser degree or diminished security in this area. But the presence of Israel's really military hub right across the street would tend to, I think, militate against the chances of a major terrorist attack there.
Now, we know there's a new defense minister in Israel who's leaning a lot more to the right than his predecessor. This is going to be a political test for this recomposed government of Benjamin Netanyahu, right? I mean, what can we expect now? Because this appears to be a major coordinated attack on a civilian target in Tel Aviv.
Well, the new defense minister is Avigdor Lieberman from the Israel Home Party. It is another right-wing party in the coalition. My party is the centrist party in the coalition, and he has called for a much stronger Israeli position against terror. And this, as you said, this will be his first test, and it's quite a big test. We experienced, starting last October, a series of stabbing attacks, mostly stabbing attacks, that were carried out by young people. The previous defense minister, Moshe Ya'alon, was able to work eventually with Palestinian security forces in greatly reducing the number of those attacks. This is of an entirely different magnitude. This is apparently not a young person who picked up a knife or a scissors. These are people with automatic weapons. And as far as I know, now the search is still on in the greater downtown Tel Aviv.
And have you been briefed? I mean, do you have more information on what weapons were used? You mentioned automatic weaponry.
Well, I don't, other than the fact that they're now saying that 3 people have been killed and 5 badly injured. That would tend to indicate that the weapons used were very deadly.
All right. Thank you very much, Michael Oren, the former Israeli ambassador to the United States. He's also a member of the Israeli parliament, the Knesset in Tel Aviv, joining us there. He just lives about a block away, he was saying, from where this attack took place. He could hear sirens and was describing the area as essentially an area very popular with tourists, with it's a culinary center with restaurants, shops, and stalls, etc. It opened in 2015. So you can imagine people just going about their business, having a meal, and this terrible attack unfolding there in Tel Aviv about 9:30 p.m. local time. Let's go to Boaz Gaynor. He's the executive director for the Institute for Counterterrorism. He is also in Tel Aviv tonight. Mr. Gaynor, first I've got to ask you, we've seen other attacks in Tel Aviv, usually knife attacks, smaller scale attacks, cars ramming pedestrians, etc., that kind of thing. But if this indeed is a coordinated attack with automatic weapons, what does that tell you?
Well, first of all, it tells me that what we are facing here is an organized attack. Unlike what we have seen in the recent wave of terrorism in Tel Aviv, which was mainly stabbing attack or lone wolf type of attacks, those were terrorists, Palestinian terrorists, youngsters that were not connected operationally wise to this or the other terrorist organization. Here, as you mentioned, we see a terrorist attack which is coordinated by at least two terrorists with automatic weapon. This is probably an organized attack, meaning there is an organization behind that initiated the attack, planned it, and executed it.
But also because, acquiring weapons of war, really, in this case, is not an easy thing to do. I mean, you would have to know suppliers, figure out a way to smuggle them, to get it to a very sensitive area, because reminding our viewers, this is meters away, yards away from the defense ministry in Tel Aviv.
Yes, that's true, but I would have to say that there is not necessarily a shortage in automatic weapons among the terrorist organizations, definitely not in Gaza, nor even in the West Bank. We don't know yet what is the identity of those terrorists. Might be terrorists that infiltrated from the West Bank to Tel Aviv, because it's not sealed the border between the West Bank and Israel. We've seen many others that have infiltrated before, and if they did, it's not that complicated that they would take with them their guns from their base.
All right, Boaz Gaynor, thanks very much. He's an expert in counterterrorism. Dr. Gil Firi is on the line from Tel Aviv. He's the deputy director at Ichilov Hospital, where many of the injured are being taken. Doctor, can you please update us on how many of the victims you've received and what their condition is, please?
We have received 10 patients. Unfortunately, 3 of them were in a very, very bad condition while arriving, and now we had to declare their death after intensive care in the hospital. We have 5 more, that one is in a bad condition, the others are now more stable, and we have 2 more that are in an easier condition. 10 patients, one of them probably is one of those who shot the wounded, but he's in the theater now.
Doctor, just so I can just recap here and summarize what you've told me, 10 patients at your hospital as a result of this attack. Of them, 3 are deceased. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right. That's right, yes.
And 7, therefore that leaves 7 injured. And of the 7 who were injured, you're saying 5 are in serious condition?
No, 5 are in serious condition. That's right.
And the other 2 are in less serious condition, and of the injured,
very easy condition. They will be okay. They have
they'll be okay.
Superficial wounds and anxiety wound injuries, but that's all.
So 3 deceased, 5 in serious condition, and you're saying that one of the injured is one of the attackers, you believe, correct?
Probably yes. Yes, probably yes. When he came here, he was in full consciousness, and he could talk. Now he's in the operation theater because he was also shot.
He was shot, and he came to your hospital. The attacker, you believe, shot. Can you tell us of the 5 who were seriously injured? What kind of wounds did they? What kind of injury wounds did they sustain in this attack?
All kinds of gunshot wounds, mostly in their chest and abdomen.
chest and abdomen. And do you know what kind of weapon was used? Were you able to determine that based on the injuries?
No, we have here the police and all who investigate it now, but this is not something that I can give you information about now.
Okay, but you have, as I mentioned there, the 3 sadly deceased, and the 2 who were lightly injured. Are they able to leave the hospital today, or are you keeping them there?
Yes, I believe so. Yes, I believe they will leave the hospital today.
All right, and this is something that, as we were mentioning there with the police who were speaking this and our reporters, you haven't seen any like this in quite a while, right?
Yeah, that's right. We have memories of such events from a few years ago when Tel Aviv was under frequent attacks, but in the last years this was not common. I'm very sad about the results of 3 dead patients, but our teams were prepared. We always prepare ourselves for such a possibility.
All right.
And I think they were prepared quite good for such an event.
All right. Dr. Ferry, thank you very much for joining us, the Deputy Director of Ichilov Hospital there. Many of the people who were injured and killed, sadly, in this attack taken to Ichilov, 3 dead, 5 serious.